Hey there, welcome back. What is up? This episode of the What Is Up podcast has Bubba sitting down with his good friend and co-worker, Dustin Koch, a guy who went from the life of smoking meth to smoking meat.
Good for you, brother!
And is known at the metal shop at Lifeline Emergency Vehicles as the unofficial smoked meat grill master. Here's your host, Bubba Seaman.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the What Is Up podcast. I got to tell you guys, I just am super thankful for all the support and encouragement that I've been getting. I hope this podcast is an encouragement to other people. So if you like what you hear today, be sure to leave a 5-star review, like it, subscribe, follow, leave a comment wherever you're listening or watching, and be sure to share it as much as you like. That's the only way to get these numbers to go up and to break those algorithms when people search for it. You have to share it on your social media or maybe email your friends or good old-fashioned word of mouth. I mean, I really don't care how you tell your friends. Just help me reach more people. And maybe, just maybe, it'll get me out of the factory and behind this microphone for a living. I doubt it. But now you guys know I'm a big believer in garbage in and garbage out. And that's why I like to give people recommendations if they're looking for something good to watch or listen to instead of complete crap that makes us feel bad or isn't good for us. So I'm going to plug them again right here, even though some people don't like it. Unashamed, that is a podcast. It's a Bible study and funny stories with some of the Robertson men. Relatable, that is a podcast with Allie Beth Stuckey. She takes that Christian worldview and she looks at all the issues of today. Cooper's Stuff. I was just telling Stu at work today about this Christian metal band, Skillet, and the lead singer, John Cooper. He addresses everything we face today. It's very good. Focus on the family. This is really the best podcast for anybody. It doesn't matter if you're family guys like me and my guest today, or you're single, or you're a young person, or a grandparent. Focus on the Family gives you the best advice on how to live your life and how to make an impact positively. Got Questions, super good website, gotquestions.org. You got any question about the Bible, go to gotquestions.org, but they also have a podcast. You can listen to it. And like I said last time, if you're more local, if you're in the Wapsie Valley area and you want to know what's going on, all things Wapsie Valley, check out Talk of the Tribe with Zach Big Dog Bavers, who tore it up last night against Applington Parkersburg in the freshman game, and Riker Oberly. And they just released a new one, the Dog Pound. So that's going to be no holds barred, whatever they want to talk about, not necessarily all things Wapsie Valley. But I also want to take a second and tell you about The Blind. Yes, it's finally out. By the time you hear this, it's out. It came out September 28th. If you haven't seen it yet, go get your tickets to see The Blind. You may never see a more powerful story of what God can do in a person's darkest times. Everyone loved Duck Dynasty. Go find out how all of that almost never happened because of Phil's addiction to alcohol and his abusiveness and his brokenness. But he turned to God, and look what happened. My family is going Saturday, Saturday the 30th. We're going Saturday the 30th in Waterloo at 3:45. So, and I'm hearing rumors that in a couple weeks some big Taylor Swift thing is coming to theaters, and it's pretty much going to take over theaters. So you're going to want to go to theblindmovie.com or go to your movie theater website, get your tickets within the next couple weeks, because the Swifties are coming and they're going to knock everything out of the theaters, I guess. So, okay, my guest today, this guy I met about 5 years ago when I started working at Lifeline. He's pretty much the only guy in the entire world that I think actually has a better nickname than me. And for all of you guys who love my pulled pork off the smoker, this is the guy that showed me the ropes when it comes to the perfect Boston butt. Even though, you remember, you didn't want to get, you said that's a family secret recipe. But I broke him down, and by the end of the day, he gave it to me. So Dustin Koch, what is up, my man?
Thanks, Bubba, for inviting me to do the podcast. I don't know about family secret recipe, but...
Well, that's what you kind of said. You go, oh, that's a secret. Maybe you didn't say family, but you said that's a secret recipe. And you started walking off. And then by the end of the day, though, you brought it to me.
You can't give everybody your secrets.
That's true. That's true. So I'm trying to encourage people with this podcast, get people talking again, whether they got disagreements or just talk about their life experiences, because it's just, I understand that can help the person sharing their story, and that can also help people listening that are maybe going through that or have gone through that. It can bring a lot of encouragement to people. And I honestly think your life experiences, they may be a little extreme for most people. Not everyone's gone through what you've gone through, but I'm encouraged by your journey that you've had so far, through, broken blended family, divorce, drugs, alcohol, mental health concerns, prison time, all that stuff. So let's just get right into it. And I'll just have you explain a little bit, tell us about your childhood, how you grew up, and we'll just go from there.
Well, Bubba, everybody's got a story. It just depends on if they want to share it or admit to their. And my story goes a long ways through a lot of different paths. Not to blame anybody or anything, but it started, I guess, I can remember just being born and raised on a dairy farm. Chores. Guess go to school, come home, do chores. I mean, that's all we did.
Good work ethic. Yep.
Keep going, go forward. I was raised that way. You just went to school, you come home, did chores. And as a kid, you ride the bus home, you get off the bus, you get a little snack, you go out and do chores, go in, go to bed, start the next day the same way. As you get older, you get into different things, different activities. You go to school and hopefully get into sports, which I did, play a little bit of sports, but it was still the same thing. Go home, do chores, go to bed. But summer times there wasn't much there, just bale hay, pick rock. Didn't go to town much as a younger kid, just too much to do on the farm. So
okay.
You didn't have much city life when you're born and raised on a dairy farm. You kept pretty busy every single day. So
right.
I would say at a young age, my parents separated. No control out of that when you're 12 years of age. Just deal with it and go with it. Rock thrown into the water, you got to go with it.
So who'd you stay with when they split up?
I guess my mom come to me at first and asked, "You're either staying because I'm leaving." Okay. It's kind of a big question to ask a 12-year-old kid.
Sure.
And you're getting torn apart. I mean, it wasn't the greatest marriage you could tell of being raised in that family, but as a 12-year-old, you don't know what is going on in different arguments. So, yeah, I went with Mom. She was my go-to. I guess I'm a mama's boy. 2 older sisters. I will go with that.
My wife would say the same thing about me. Yep, you're a mama's boy.
It was kind of, I don't know if disheartening is the right word to say, but to choose between parents at that age, it's what can you expect a kid to say when you?
Yeah, that's tough, dude.
And I went with Mom, and I was right at getting my license, so she said it doesn't matter what you do, but you're not going to run the streets and get in trouble. And I expected that.
Yeah.
But I didn't think it would turn into where it went. But it was always work. I always had a job on a dairy farm, worked all the way when I went with Mom. But before, I guess, court for final agreement on who got placement and this and that after court, Dad, I don't know if you call it won the battle or whatever, had more money, depending on how you want to look at that through lawyers or whatever. Dad won the battle, and I went back to live with him.
Okay.
And it was a back and forth battle between parents. It's kind of not blaming them for what happened, but it kind of was a start from there, from downhill spiral. But again, I'm not going to blame my parents for the path I chose either. I guess after court, Dad got custody of us, and I went and lived back with him. We had weekends with Mom. And it was a struggle growing up in your teen years. Everything should be family oriented. And it was in a sense, but my sisters were getting older. I'm getting older, and I was a boy. They were girls. Mm-hmm. They had their own issues. I had my own. Chose a different path than them as a boy, I guess, and would say that I didn't like it when the oldest went to college, I should say. Then it seemed like the blunt come down the hill a little bit closer to my sister that's 3 years older than me. And then when she moved out, it come down on me. So then it just turned into another battle of what you got to do at your expectations as you get older. So I jumped on the bus one morning because I didn't want to get up and do chores, and went and lived with my mom. No questions asked. Never really had anything to do with my dad after that. Just
there was a big break in relationship at that point.
Yep, absolutely. Never called, never said nothing. He knew where I was. Obviously, Mom and Dad had a conversation over it, but I was 16 or pretty close to 16, so that was it. Just go with Mom.
And how long did that last? Like, how long did you and your dad not talk?
All the way, even he come to graduation, but I ran out of graduation day, so I could avoid the conversation. Never talked to him once.
So it was a couple years.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. All right. So what were you getting into before that point, and when you went to stay with Mom?
Oh, I said that earlier. No, running the streets. You're going to do something just after school. So I got a job working for a dairy farmer. Close friends with Mom. It was good enough to give me a car and gas as long as I come there after school, do chores. It was perfect. I mean, that many years ago, nobody had a car with free gas.
No.
You had to work for it, and I did. It was hard work every day, every weekend, milking cows, doing chores. Filled the void, but the nightlife started to get a little more creative for me, I would say, and hanging out with the wrong group.
Yeah. So typical high school kid's gonna, if they're running with the wrong crowd, they're gonna get into alcohol. They may or may not get into pot. And back then, so we're talking what, early 90s at this point?
It'd be like 93, 94.
Okay, so that was kind of when, because it was pretty much the 90s. I know by the time I was in high school, mid to late 90s, meth was really exploding all over Iowa. I mean, Iowa was like the epicenter for it, of course. So you went a little past just alcohol and partying at night. You got into some heavier stuff.
Yeah, I would say I'd say more weed and pot in high school. I never really tried anything till that's probably right around the spring of graduation in 96, where running with the wrong crowd, but you get into bigger parties. You're a high schooler, you're a senior, you're going to upperclassmen parties.
Yep.
You're a senior.
Mm-hmm. What were you thinking about doing after high school? So you graduate, still no real relationship with Dad, but
big in high school, I was into carpentry.
Okay.
That was my go-to, going to build houses, going to do this and that. My oldest sister's ex-husband was big into carpentry, so I kind of followed that. Going to go to tech school, going to carpentry. Junior, senior year, I took a class in carpentry and shop.
Okay.
So I went with that, and it was shortly after high school where I decided this is not what I want to do.
Okay.
Tech school, I got to talking with my dad again, redoing trucks because then vehicles were starting to climb on prices.
Okay.
And he bought a truck that was burnt, like started on fire, bought a motor, did it all himself by hand. And I thought, that's more interesting than just building houses.
Restored it, fixed it, got it running, all that.
Painted it all, started. I mean, It wasn't the best job, but it was a job. It was better than buying a brand new one off the lot, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And it started that relationship over with Dad, I guess, a little bit.
Good.
To move on and move forward with that. Went to Northeast Iowa Community College, and I'm not going to lie, I didn't learn a whole lot in shop class.
The Kalmar campus, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was in, summer of 96. Graduated in May of 96 from high school and started college in, I would say, June or July of that year.
Okay. All right. So you go up there for, what is it technically called? Collision repair? Auto body or something? Okay.
Yep.
Got it. All right. So what are you doing? I mean, that's only like a 2-year program, right?
1 year.
One
year in and out and done. You're supposed to learn everything you can possibly know, but I didn't learn anything, to be honest.
No. But I mean, because you already knew by watching your dad, or did you, I mean, you knew how to then do repair a car, right? Or no?
Yeah, just pretty much hands-on. Think you know everything at 18, but the sky's the limit, too.
Yeah, yeah. See, guys, you don't have to go to a 4-year school. If you don't feel led for academic excellence and a bunch of debt, you can go to a 1-2 year trade school. look in the want ads. They're always needing mechanics, auto body technicians, plumbers, welders. I mean, we're not going to recommend welding, but
I wouldn't go that far. There's better things to do besides welding.
Right. But yeah, there's plenty of other stuff to do without a 4-year degree. So okay, so what's it like after college? You get a job at a shop there in Fayette?
Yeah, I got a job because we bought a wrecked vehicle to go to college to work on in the frame shop.
Oh yeah,
at the tech school I was going to, and I pretty much spent close to $5,000, maybe not quite, by borrowing for a wrecked vehicle and what I was going to put into it. And by the time I got it up there stripped down on their frame machine that I was supposed to be learning how to run, the instructor had no clue on what to do or how to do it. And
what?
I'm already invested into this truck.
Yeah.
So thankfully, the guy that worked at Matison's at the time had a frame shop, and he's like, hey, I could use a young guy like you that's interested in learning this. And it turned into more than what I expected at the time, but 16 hours a day is a lot. That's a long day.
Yeah.
And not every day, but he had big project that he had big dreams, and that's when collision repair and frame shops really started off. Was
okay.
I'd say the late 90s.
Yeah.
We were knocking out a car a day or trying to, and special projects started at night, and I learned a lot from that guy.
Yeah.
And that one kind of went south because he just didn't like the way it was going. Most of his Saturdays were selling cars instead of working in the shop, and chose a different path for his life, and it was time for me to find something different too. So there was a lot of ins and outs and ups and downs, long hours, try to fill the void between milking cows and working long hours.
Yeah. So you're cutting loose too in the evenings then. I mean, 16 hours, you got to blow off steam sometime, somehow.
Yeah, because the only 16-hour day is a long day. Then you got to meet up with buddies that probably not on the same path I should have been on, but the sky's the limit at that point.
Okay.
No sleep for the wicked.
So that closes up, or he has a change in direction or whatever, and you go to Lifeline for your first stint.
Yes, absolutely. It was something different.
But you weren't welding at that point.
No, I worked in the paint department.
Okay.
Oh, I had a degree, so I figured I might as well try to use the degree.
Yeah.
Stepped in, and it was... Well, I hope the Lifeline guys that are listening don't remember the bad past, but it was a bad past. It was a long, bumpy road through them 2 years there. I was in and out of a lot of extracurriculars. There might be some old veterans that are still there, but not very many.
Yeah.
That was the stint, and pretty much walked out because of a disagreement with the supervisor. I would say he wanted it his way, I wanted it my way. Probably a lot had to do with my influence at that time.
Okay. And so you're like 19, 20?
Right in there.
At that point?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So, making poor choices, but trying to hold down a job, and then, that's tough. All right. So tell me about the next few years, the early 20s, man. It obviously didn't go...
Well, job to job. I always had a job. I don't guess vividly remember each and every job I had, but I always had a job.
See, and to me, before you keep going, that when you talk about growing up on a farm, and not just growing up on a farm, I mean, you're expected do chores morning, do chores afternoon, that kind of stuff. When I see farm kids today, I still see that work ethic. So you can say you're doing this, doing that, stuff you shouldn't be doing, but you're still working. You're still, you know what I mean? You're still trying to meet responsibilities because it was ingrained in you. Don't take handouts.
Yep.
Do your work. And like the shirt I'm wearing right now, the Fight Like a Farmer. This is when Brody Kleitch got diagnosed with that cancer when he was a younger kid, and they ended up taking one of his legs. They make these shirts up, and those Kleitch boys, let me tell you, they're the most respectful, hardworking kid. I mean, farm kids are just a different breed of cat. They're not scared to work, and they don't want handouts. They want to just earn it, and I can appreciate that, and I can see that in your story. I can see that characteristic in you for sure.
Well, the farm generation, I should say, the dairy farm, has a lot different now than what it was when I was a kid, because I wouldn't say corporation, but everything got big.
Right, yeah.
You don't see a family farm that's milking 50, 60, 100 cows anymore. It's all blown up a lot bigger than what it was.
Quick Star. Quick Star owns a lot of them, right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But
I gotcha.
Well, I would say after Lifeline, it turned into a circus. Yeah, it's not much family time. Close family, I should say. My family was the drugs, alcohol, the partying, and
the bad crowd became your family.
Yep.
Gotcha.
I was always a huge supporter of friends. I mean, I'm going to help you because that was my circle. My family was no longer important. It was the getting the high and chasing the highs. And I guess at the beginning I knew it was going to end eventually, but I didn't know it was going to end in the next 3 to 4 years. But
I've done enough, being involved in kids ministry and just youth. I'm always looking at teens and young people and how they're influencing things. And I mean, I have not seen a study that's proven otherwise. You're going to seek community. That's how most kids get into gangs. They don't have it. Their needs aren't being met at home, whether it's through fatherlessness or divorce or, whatever. That's how them gangs get kids in. They treat them like a family. They say, we're going to take care of you. We're going to, you've got community with us. And once you got a group of people like that around you, it's not easily, you don't want to leave it.
No.
So.
And I wouldn't say I had a gang. I had a
right.
group.
No, I'm not saying that, but.
Never was into that. I'm not saying you could call it a small, close-knit community gang because we all had the same interests. Was it right? No, but we all did the same thing. So
you guys weren't, volunteering at the church on Sunday.
No,
you guys were doing other stuff.
Yeah, Sunday was not a church-going day for us. But
Gotcha.
I would say once a lot farther south, I think when I turned probably 21, 22.
Okay.
And we were battling back and forth on how to get the better high, where to go, where to get it. And it just kept climbing the ladder to what's next. That's where it kind of went south, hanging with bigger and better people.
Just kept going down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, it was a deep, dark rabbit hole until I figured out that it was when somebody's following you and you hear different stories about, or different people trying to approach you, and you're in 99 now, and meth's a, what do you call it, epidemic? Is that the right word? I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, it was
spreading.
In 99, you were going to do 99 years if you got caught. So
right.
People were warning me. I didn't have a problem. I will admit, I didn't think I had a problem.
Right.
I had a job. So what's the difference if I'm doing drugs?
But you knew in the late 90s, you knew cops were looking out for this stuff, or you had an awareness that like, hey, the walls are kind of closing in.
Yeah, there was a time period where we thought we were going big or go home, and we were there. I admit, the guys I was hanging out with, we were there.
Okay.
I'm not going to bring up any names or anything, but that's irrelevant at this point. But at the time when I knew I was in trouble, it was scary.
I bet.
And everybody disappeared.
Where's your family now?
Everybody. Nobody. Couple friends booked state, and I sat and hold the, what do you call that in track? The baton. I had the baton in my hand, and I was the one that, I guess, I don't know, how do you want to word that?
You went down and took the rap?
Took the rap and took it all the way to the big house.
Man. So what was the actual, okay, spoiler alert, you get busted. What was the actual charge? What did you get?
I got indicted. Went through federal court. I didn't, never really handcuffed or nothing, just indicted into federal. Indicted, and then eventually after different court hearings, got indicted and found guilty for making a building, room, or enclosure available for manufacturing and use.
Wow. Okay. So, I mean, that's kind of a roundabout charge. That's not like if they raid a house and they got the guy red-handed, they're going to get him for making or distribution or this and that. You making a building, room, or enclosure available. So it was basically they're saying it's your house, you're going down.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, it was. I've had a lot of friends that lived with me during this time of extracurricular use and this and that back and forth. And it just come to a point where I couldn't even go home. They were kicking the doors in to take a shower because they lost their key or didn't want to wait for me to get home. This is before cell phones and all this and that. I mean, they wouldn't even wait around. Eventually the door was just wide open, so anybody and anybody could come in. It's a farmhouse.
Dang.
I got tired of it, so I kind of abandoned it, and it was definitely a user house, so everybody was coming in and going as they pleased. That was another sign to get out before you can't get out, but by then it was too late. I was already full swing.
Yeah. Well, some people still don't see it. Some people still don't see, light at the other end, like maybe I need to start moving my way out of this. Some people just, they don't care. Let the walls close in, and then they never get out of it. You at least, I'm too far in, but...
Well, I seen it, but I was too proud to admit. I mean, I was only one out of 5-6 of us that actually worked every day to come home to these guys just partying, doing whatever they wanted. And it's no life to live, I would say.
Man. So, I mean, did you fight any of it at all? Lawyers, did you throw any money at trying to...
Oh, it was a big money thing. Borrow money, $8,000 right off, or I think it was $5,000. That turned into $8,000 for a retainer. I mean, this is federal. I mean, everybody's like, why? Why federal? I don't know. They picked my name because of the epidemic for meth that was going around. It was somebody's got to pay the price.
Yeah, make an example out of you or whatever. Let other people know. Don't even think about it.
Yeah, and my opinion is I was a guinea pig for Northeast Iowa, Sumner area. Okay. There was a big task force that come in.
Okay.
I got called a lot of names when I got out, but that's at the point when I went down, I thought, they got to hold somebody accountable.
Yep.
I'm thankful that they did, I guess, because I probably wouldn't be here if I wouldn't have went down when I did.
Very well said. Very well said, my man. Wow. Yeah, that is truth right there. Okay. So you're going down, you throw some money at it, you try and fight it and all that stuff. What's the process like when federal agents are trying to pin something on you? How does that affect everyone around you?
Oh, it's terrible. The federal government knows everything, every single step you've done here and there, and your family, girlfriends, their family. I guess it was more of a courtroom setting when you go into pre-sentence evaluation is what they called it. I don't know if that's the exact same term, but it's close enough.
Yeah.
It picks and pries at every single part of your family, friends, anybody you're associated with. They think they got to know everything about it, but when you're talking them kind of charges, I guess it's kind of serious because you're a harm to society, they say.
Okay. All right.
Then once you get charged by the federal government, obviously you're not I don't think you throw any amount of money at it successfully and win.
Yeah, you're not getting off.
Nope.
You're going down for something, or you're going to do time for something. Right. Okay. What kind of sentence were we looking at?
I sat through multiple different hearings, I guess not per se courtroom hearings until sentencing, but a couple of them, there was different charges they tried to get me on for gun charges and this and that because I did have guns. But I got in an argument with a local cop, and they knew that my doors were kicked in and they stole my guns, and I wasn't about to go to prison and get another charge for something that they already knew. Okay. So I fought back on that. It saved me 5 years. 5 years of battle for guns. But
every little bit helps.
Yes. But it was a non-violent drug charge, I guess. They say anything under 27 months or 30 months, non-violent, you get a program through the Federal Bureau of Prisons.
Okay.
So they gave me the boot camp in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania. There was 2 boot camps at that time, one in Lompoc, California.
Oh, I've heard of that one.
And one in Pennsylvania. Neither one of them exist, and I'm thankful that they don't exist because it was terrible. You take a small farm boy from Iowa that just travels his local communities and take him to Pennsylvania it was pretty much just like a military boot camp.
Okay.
Run, shine your boots, iron your clothes. I guess I can't express anymore. Don't get in trouble if you don't want to do it. But
right. But I mean, you're what, 25?
25. On the top of the running class.
Okay.
I mean, it's from 4 o'clock in the morning. They're throwing garbage cans across the bay to get you up. Go brush your teeth and be ready to run in 15 minutes with 200 to 500 guys in the bay, depending on where you're at this program.
Okay. It's
really, really super intense. But it's that because you're in prison, it's shock incarceration. Get in, get out, hopefully rehabilitate through this process.
Yeah, so when you say shock incarceration, it's meant it's going to be a short period of time. I mean, it's not like you killed somebody where you got to go away for years and years. They want you out.
Yeah, beat it in, beat it out.
Yep. So when you hit the streets again, you know I'm not going to do the same thing to get thrown back in this place.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it was.
What else besides the physical training? I mean, that's I can picture. Everyone knows what a boot camp looks like, and that's why a lot of people don't sign up for the military. I knew the Army would break me, so I knew not to sign up for it. I'd be crying after, the first day. But what else besides the physical training and all that stuff did you guys do?
Oh, there's a lot to learn of respect there.
Okay.
They were most of the COs or guards that are there were ex-military.
Okay.
For whatever reasons, they got injured, but my team leader was actually, I think, the Air Force. He refused to have hernia surgery because he had to take too much time off. But he was physically fit, but he respected you even though you're in there in prison. I mean, he still had respect for the guys that were there and tried to help you along. When I blew my knee out, he said, I got a syringe. I'll drain all the fluid right out of there and you keep going. If that had been that easy, I'd have been done.
Right, right.
But there was a huge respect thing there for the program and stay at your best at every given moment.
Okay. When you guys weren't doing that kind of stuff, you actually went and did work inside another prison or another facility?
Oh, that
was on the East Coast?
This is in Pennsylvania. That I think holds the most prisons in the United States. This is the Big House.
The Big House.
You can look up Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, the Big House. It's a maximum security prison. As a boot camper, we had to go in there and do different jobs, whether it be cleaning out basements, and pretty much you have a disrespect for the federal government there a little bit for throwing away brand new stuff so they could get more money, I would guess. I don't know the exact details on that, but we were literally throwing away brand new folding chairs and deteriorating cardboard boxes that were in the basement of cell blocks.
Did you, you went in there to work, but did you guys actually interact with inmates, or you weren't like in with the population at all? You were there to do a job, then get back to your...
Well, they opened a door and we seen the cell, and that was probably one of the scariest moments of being in federal prison, to see what they are in 23 out of 24 hours a day. On a common day, it's that they get out for lunch and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That cell is not very big. I don't know the exact measurements, but there was the light bulb that come on in my head. I shouldn't be here anyway. I'm just doing some work because they asked me to do the work, which I was fine with, but it was very, very scary to go and see that in that moment.
Sure.
And the light bulb come on. It's like, let's get done. Let's get out of here.
Nice.
They're catcalling you out of the third tier. That's very discomforting.
Oh, I bet. I can imagine. My imagination's going wild right now. I don't ever want to see the inside of one of those places. All right, so you're doing pretty good with all the PT, the physical training and stuff, and then there goes the knee.
Yep, and I never had any issues with any of my body. I don't know what actually happened because federal prison, you don't really have the greatest doctors that are going to check you all over and do whatever.
Yeah.
But my ankle was big enough where you couldn't really see any of my ankle was so swelled up going over my shoe. So you can imagine how comforting that is to run. So I went from almost the high class of running every morning to barely could make it a quarter mile getting on the truck. And if you got on the truck, it wasn't pretty. You were getting yelled at, screamed at.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Why aren't you up there? So I was pretty much forced to sign out of that program.
And you needed that program to
get out in 7 months. It was 7 months shock incarceration.
Dang.
So that was very, very, just disgusted with myself.
Yeah.
But you can't change what happens to your body. I mean, you have to go with the punches.
Right. So what was their plan for you then?
Then I got to go back to the camp to see if my knee would fix itself. And obviously after a 30-day arrest, you don't get another choice. You're either going to be able to successfully go back and do the program, or I was forced to sign out.
Okay, couldn't do it.
No, it wasn't getting any better. So.
All right. So where do you go after that? Where do they send you then? You can't just sit there and sweep floors. They kick you out.
You wait to follow the federal process, and then once you have to go through the process of getting shipped from one place to the next place. Supposedly in the federal government, you should be 500 miles from home.
Okay.
To the nearest facility. So
okay.
They shipped me from Pennsylvania to Oklahoma City. That's the major transfer hub for all federal
inmates.
Anybody,
sure.
Anybody and everybody goes.
Okay.
Jump on a plane, handcuffed, shackled, belly chained. It's an experience that nobody should ever have to go through.
Right.
Nobody.
Man.
You get educated in a short order with that. But again, I will say nobody should have to go through that. I would wish that nobody has to go to that. But
well, so when you say you're in the big house and you're looking at that cell, you're like, dang, this is not, I don't ever want to do anything to get this far in or in this much trouble. And then you say, okay, you get to OKC, like the dude from Shawshank Redemption. I don't belong here.
Yep.
Like you quickly realize, like, yeah, I screwed up and all that, but you're just this Midwestern kid. You learned your lesson quickly. Like when I get my life on the right track, I'm not coming back to this crap. This is not for me.
No.
I'm not this hardened freaking criminal. Do you think the perception is sometimes people go into incarceration and they come out worse. You know, they're supposed to go in to get rehabilitated, disciplined. I don't want to come back here like you did, but some people go in and they get kind of taken over by what goes on in there, and then they come out a more hardened criminal than they went in. So you're saying you saw worse stuff in there.
Yeah, but I didn't choose to adapt to their society.
Right.
I chose the right path, I guess.
Yes,
there's a lot of things.
You did.
You can learn a lot of things in prison, whether it be right or wrong. I guess I chose the outside world versus the inside world. Okay. I don't have any close friends, but I know a lot of people that are on that path of in and out, in and out, in and out. There's a time where you see the light and choose the light to go on the other side.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Yeah, I was just telling the Awana kids on Wednesday night, Jesus said, I am the light. I mean, I know what you're saying, light at the end of the tunnel, light to get out of this, get this life behind me. But man, I'm a big believer in that. Jesus said, I am the light. He who walks with me will never walk in darkness. So, okay, so where they ship you off to? You spend a couple weeks there in Oklahoma City. Where were you actually going to go to try and pay your restitution to society?
I'm going back to federal prison in Yankton, South Dakota.
Yankton, South Dakota. Okay, tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, it's a big college campus. Old college campus. Basically what it is, just a bunch of buildings. You can walk across the street. Just got to wear the clothes they give you. And
okay.
Khakis during the day. When you go to work out at night, it's shorts and sweatpants. You walk across the street.
So they consider it, even for federal prison, is it like minimum security? Like if you wanted to run off, you could run off?
Yeah, you get an extra charge if you run off.
Well, yeah, sure. But you're not.
Yeah, it's a camp.
Okay.
And it's all the inmates do all the work around there. If anybody drives through Yankton, South Dakota, I'd recommend driving around that facility. It's all flowered up it's actually a very beautiful campus.
Okay.
If you want to call a federal prison a campus, but it's all run by the inmates, just guards there to oversee you and do your time and get out. But
okay. So how long of a program was that going to be if they set you up?
Yep, finally got into the program. Probably 2 or 3 months of staying there, got into the drug program.
Okay.
It's pretty much classroom material, follow their book work, do reporting.
Okay.
All the ins and outs of being a drug addict, getting in and out of that and moving on with life.
Sure.
Rehabilitation. Then had to write a letter to get a job on the outside before I got out. Move on.
Okay.
Move on with society. They taught you how to get back into society after getting out and moving on with regular life instead of drugs.
Sure.
Go to AA, NA.
Yep.
All these. And
so you had made the decision, when I get out, I'm going to be straight and I'm not coming back to a place like this. But did that kind of stuff while you were in there, did that actually help you, or were you just doing it to complete the program and get out? Did you actually learn anything of value? Like, you know what I mean? If it's supposed to rehabilitate you, was it actually a value for you? Did it help you when you got out?
I would say yes and no. I mean, I knew when you're in federal prison, I knew it's like, this is nowhere. I'm going nowhere. I'm already at the bottom.
Right.
The sky is the limit right now. So take what I can get and move on, move forward. I guess the biggest thing was I wanted to go home.
Okay.
Small town Iowa kid. Pennsylvania's a long ways away from northeast Iowa. I learned that. And to not be able to complete that program, it was disheartening for me to not be able to go home in 7 months when that was my sight.
That was your goal. I mean.
But I will admit, in Yankton, I met one of the best friends, and I'm still associate with him.
Is this the buddy that you go to South Dakota?
Yep.
Is it really?
Yep.
Oh, I don't think you had told me that. When you talk about vacationing in South Dakota or going to see your buddy, I didn't realize this is where you met the guy.
Yep.
Okay, good.
I have friends, but not, well, obviously no friends from my past that got me into trouble, but besides family, I don't have anybody but him.
Okay.
I have acquaintances I've met along the way.
Yeah.
But as far as close friends, he's my guy, I would say.
Good.
We were in the same room, went through the same program, and if he was here right now, he'd admit the same thing.
Okay. And he's doing pretty good then, I assume,
right? Yeah, he's
right?
very, very, very successful.
Good. Good. All right. So you complete this thing successfully. You said 9-month drug program, but I assume it's just like anything else. You don't just get your freedom. You got to do the halfway house or the facility or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. July 8th of, I can't remember what year it was for sure, but I think 2003.
2003, okay.
I get released from Yankton to go to Waterloo Correctional Facility.
Okay.
And pretty much that day you have to drive. You don't have you get that amount of hours there, maybe a half-hour grace period to get from Yankton to Waterloo, and no real close family. I mean, just the transportation was all you got.
Okay.
Got picked up, got dropped off, and hopefully somebody comes to get me and take me to look for a job the next day, and they did.
Okay.
Went back to Southern Classic.
Okay.
Went back to Weldon Trailers, and one day I'm looking into the office and thought I recognized somebody in the office. Come to find out it was a guy that worked there's niece. She was just picking up his paycheck, and a couple days after that, we started dating.
Oh, that's where the love story begins. Okay. All right. Yeah, she must have been, what'd you say you were going from Waterloo to Southern Classic in Sumner, and your car was a 76 Ford LTD. That's why she responded to your
I don't know about that. It was a car that was available to drive at the point. But yeah, it was a 76 Ford LTD, and it wasn't the dream car you wanted to be driving.
It was a boat. I'm sure I can picture it. It was just a big old boat, man.
But it was classic. I think there was like 46,000 original miles, and my grandparents bought it brand new.
Oh, wow. Wow.
But Grandma had passed away when I was incarcerated, so it was, I guess, kind of a sentimental thing there to drive her car. back and forth from the facility and getting a job.
Yeah.
But it worked out.
Good.
I could have sold the car 5 times in the facility and to the Waterloo boys, but
they're always after Cadillacs and LTDs and, you know, what's the one version of Cadillac? The Ford Brougham or Brom, whatever you call it. Yeah.
Yeah, they were all over me every night. You pull into Waterloo on East 4th Street to go to the facility at 2 o'clock in the morning, and you'd be surprised on how many people are catcalling you or just chanting "nice car" or however you want to say it.
Yeah.
It was interesting at 2 o'clock in the morning on East 4th Street.
That's a good experience for a white farm kid from
Not so
Northeast
much.
Iowa.
Not so much.
That's diversity. You're getting diversity, my man. Okay, so I assume you met their requirements and all that stuff, and you get some probation. How long was probation, and how'd that work out for you?
3 years probation after the facility, and it went good for the first few months, but
okay,
hanging out with, I wouldn't say the people I was in trouble with before I went to prison, but just getting acquainted with other people that I knew before I got locked up and running. Not in drugs, but alcohol started again in my life.
Okay.
That kind of went south there with OWI 9 months out on federal paper. They disagreed with that totally.
Yeah, they probably frown. They want you to be on best behavior, I assume.
Yeah, it was 3 years clean and sober, no questions asked. So back in trouble I was.
Man.
That was an expensive OWI. We add everything up, it was probably close to $25,000.
Oh my goodness, man!
And house arrest, ankle monitor, breathalyzer in your car and in your house.
See, now that when you told me that, I didn't quite get that. So I get it. Okay, you did a federal thing, so it's a little more serious than just having spent some time in Black Hawk County and then get into the facility and then released. But you had a breathalyzer and a camera in your house. So you were of legal drinking age, but they said that's a problem for you, so you're not allowed to do it while on probation, and you're going to have to check in and prove to us you're not drinking.
Twice a day. Before I left for work, I don't know how to explain it. It's like a camera with a bar on it that had a breathalyzer in it.
Okay.
You have to pull that out, and it had to say 3 zeros. I guess I never took the chance to not blow 3 zeros, so it always never had an issue.
Okay.
In and out of that program pretty fast.
Okay.
If you want to call it a program, I
but,
guess.
So 6-month house arrest, did you get to work or no?
Yep.
Okay.
It was ankle bracelet, go to work. Still worked at Southern
ankle
Classic.
bracelet. Yeah,
Just couldn't drive for the first, I want to say I only went 30 days without a license. I never lost my license. Even when I was locked up, I never understood that. State, you lose your license. Federal, I just had to go to take the test to get my license back. And never lost it.
Yeah, that's weird. I
guess there's
look into that. You think
pros and cons from federal charges to state charges.
All right. So did you behave yourself after that, after you got through that little stint, or did you violate probation again?
No, I did step on my own toes again.
Come on, man. Don't tell me another OWI. Tell me you didn't do the same thing.
Not an OWI. Open container. Could have been a lot worse. I went and picked up they were my wife's kids at that time. Later on, I adopted them. But Grandpa had a bad night with, I don't remember what it was, diabetic. So he had a bad night. Couldn't watch the boys, so had to drive to West Union. I've been roofing all day. Will admit I had a few drinks.
Okay.
Shouldn't have been driving. Had a taillight out. That's what got me.
Oh, okay.
Broken taillight. I admitted to the cops that I've been drinking. They said, well, if you blow under, we're not going to haul you in. You're good. I blew under, but
they got you for the open container.
They got me for open container on federal paper and had to call a probation officer.
Okay.
Which wasn't a good highlight. Had a baby at that time.
Man. So you guys were married at this time?
Nope.
Not yet. Okay, gotcha. We'll get to it. So what kind of punishment, being on probation, open container,
I know.
They throw you back in the facility?
Back in the facility for 6 months.
Oh, man.
I want to say Dyson was only a couple months old then.
So you're starting the family, starting to do things right, and then you got to go 6 months back in the facility. You got your taste of freedom.
Yeah, and we had already had a kid. That's where, I guess, I was going to marry her eventually. I
Right.
didn't know we had to put a date on it, but got encouraged by family to get married. So July 7th of 2007, we finally figured her out, but I was still on paper. So got married. She planned it all while I was in the facility.
Okay.
And
so you knew getting out of this thing, we're gonna get married, we're gonna do things right, and
yep.
I'm not gonna screw up anymore, I hope, is what you were telling yourself.
Well, I had to at that point.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't drink or nothing when we got married, which I don't know if that's...
How do you do that at a wedding these days?
Huh?
How does the groom... No, I mean, I'm not a drinker. It's easy for me. You know that. But most of the weddings I go to, that would catch my eye if I didn't see the groom. Everyone else is drinking.
I gave out a couple $100 worth of drink tickets.
Okay.
Just had a good night. It was a good night.
It should be. Your wedding night should be.
It was a struggle. She did this all by herself while I was in the facility. I mean, we got to see her on the weekends and this and that and the kids. But
was she mad at you for getting thrown back in there?
I wouldn't say mad. Probably more disappointed than anything.
Okay. Right.
We try not to hold grudges on certain things.
That's good for a marriage. Don't hold grudges against your spouse. That's Bubba's marriage counseling tip number 1. Yeah.
But I did get to go back to the facility the night of our wedding to go do a breathalyzer and make sure I wasn't drinking.
Real cap on the evening there. That's good.
Everybody went to the bar and we drove home.
Good.
But I think that's, well, I wouldn't say the only thing that was a highlight of our wedding, but a lot of people say they don't remember their wedding night.
Yep.
I can honestly say we do.
Good. So what'd you say at that time? Your wife had 2 kids going into the marriage, and you guys had Dyson at that time, and so that's the start of the Koch family coming together. And
yeah, after we got married, it was Austin and Michael were, I think when I started the relationship after getting out in Waterloo, they were like, I want to say 5 and 3, so I've pretty much been in their life for, well, I adopted them.
Yeah, they know you as Dad.
Yeah, they call me Dad.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Okay, so after the wedding, after all that stuff, what are you doing for work to start doing things and start doing the adult life?
Oh, I went to work Southern Classic till 2009, February 3rd, I believe is the correct date of 2009. Things started going south at the trailer place, and time for me to choose a different path again. So I worked for a friend. Actually, they built my oldest sister's house, and she thought, well, it's a good fit. So I interviewed with him at her house, started working to finish up their house, and went and worked construction for 3 years. Okay.
Got back into that carpentry a little bit.
There
you go.
Just couldn't get over the fear of heights at that point.
Yeah.
Shingling barns and steeling barns.
Barns. Yeah, you're getting up there.
Yeah. I guess after having Dyson and climbing silos wasn't my thing anymore. Realized that at my other sister's house, climbing a silo and locked up, took me about an hour to get the courage to get it together so I quit shaking to climb back down.
Go down.
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah.
I guess a lot of people have told me that after having kids, you don't have the fearlessness anymore. You have something to worry about, something to be concerned about.
I agree 100%. I used to ride motorcycles quite a bit. You ask my wife, I did this thing, like, I don't know, probably for like a 6 or 8 year period. I'd buy a motorcycle in the summer, I'd have it for a couple of years, and then come like one of those winters, I'd sell the motorcycle and buy a 4-wheel drive truck. And I just kind of went back and forth. And then and I used to love riding motorcycles up to Prairie du Chien and, with a couple friends or whatever. And then one day it was just gone. I was like, if I wanted to go spend half a day riding up to Wisconsin and around and then back, I'd much rather be doing something with my kids here at home. Why? What? And it was just like, I haven't had a desire to buy a motorcycle and go riding. I'd much rather be at home doing something with my family. And I can totally relate to that for sure. Like you do understand. I mean, being on a barn like that or on a motorcycle going 60 miles an hour, you might not get a second chance if something goes wrong. So yeah, I can relate to that. So, and at that point, dude, I mean, just the years go by, don't they? Like the family life, working, pretty much the big thing I hear from you is you're constantly cooking for everybody. If it's not an event, you're cooking for somebody, or you're bringing to work, meat that you made over the weekend for something. And
I think that's when I come back. Well, went back to Lifeline in 2011.
Okay.
And that's, I'd say right around there when I got my first smoker and everything started, I wouldn't say blowing up, just got into that. Something to do.
Yeah. It's a good hobby.
Yeah.
It's a good hobby. Good constructive activity for a rehabilitated man like yourself. And for me, who's never been in trouble. I mean, now I'm hooked on it. Just
well, you got 4 boys. You got to find some way to cook.
True.
That goes a little bit farther.
Yeah. So, dude, it's a success story. You went from the drug life to the family life, and I got a ton of respect for that. It pretty much further proves my belief that for most human beings, there is a call to marry, to have kids, to raise those kids, have healthy families. I honestly think marriage and family is the most important aspect of life and kind of gives us a higher level of purpose and direction. If you don't have that, all of a sudden, you know what I mean? You don't have, what do you got to live for? You go do whatever you want to do, and chances are that's going to get you in trouble. And of course, I base my beliefs on Scripture. So when I look at the Bible, I can read in 1 Corinthians, not everyone, I get it, is called to marry, but most people. In 1 Corinthians, Paul says, to the unmarried and the widows, it is good for them to remain single as I am. But if they cannot exercise self-control, they should marry. And a lot of people don't know that Scripture. So Paul was saying, I'm out here serving the Lord. If there's widows and the people who are unmarried and they feel like they're not called to marry, then I get it. So I want to be fair to the other side. But for most of us, there is a call to marriage. There is a call for family. It gives us purpose and meaning. And it's the bedrock of civilization. If you don't have marriage and family, I hear that's kind of a trend in some people in younger generations now is, go get your college degree, build up your wealth. Don't be tied down by a spouse and kids, and then you can do whatever you want, whenever you want. And I'm just like, okay, imagine that idea spreading. Okay, what's going to end up happening to civilization? Well, at first you'd have chaos and brokenness because people have urges. When the Bible says, it's better to marry than burn with passion, everybody knows we're talking about sex. So you're going to have a lot of people, they don't want to be in marriage, but of course they want to fulfill that desire. So there's going to be lots of people doing that out of wedlock, and that's going to lead to major problems, chaos, broken families. But say, okay, everyone chooses not to do that, but they still think marriage and family is not where it's at, so they don't get married. No kids, no families. Okay, so then eventually we're going to pretty quickly get to nothing. There's going to be nobody left.
Right.
So marriage and family is where it's at. You know that. I know that. And that's a good spot to take a break right there. Or actually, maybe that's just good for this part of the episode. What do you think, Cookie? Yeah, I think we got through all the heavy stuff, the difficult stuff, hopefully the encouraging stuff. Maybe we save all the fun stuff for the next episode. I think that's a good idea. So I'm going to give you one last plug, everyone. Go see The Blind movie. Go see the story about how the family from Duck Dynasty almost never was. But Phil made the choice to put down the bottle, pick up the Bible, and say, Lord, I'm going to do it your way. And look how it worked out for him. Multi-million-dollar duck call company, hit TV show, and they are preaching the gospel and people are coming to Jesus, and it's incredible. I'm hearing reviews already saying it is the most powerful movie people have seen. So go check it out this weekend. Grab your family. Go to the theater and see it as a family. It's going to be something you'll never regret. I promise you that. And invite somebody. If you know somebody that's struggling with alcohol or struggling with family issues or just seems to be lost, has no purpose in life, bring them to this movie. Pay for their ticket. Get them there. See what God can do. Thank you guys for listening so much. We'll come back on the next episode and we'll get into all the funny segments with my man, Dustin Koch. We all call him Cookie. And we'll get into his What Is Up topic, which he wants to tackle the topic of mental health. What is up with mental health? We'll get to all that on the next episode, part 2, with Dustin Koch on the What Is Up podcast. Thank you guys.